Greetings, friends. I did say I wanted to make a sleeper pick video for the Kentucky Derby. How about we just do one long shot for the Kentucky Oaks, one long shot for the Kentucky Derby, and of course we'll start off with the Kentucky Oaks. And I wanted to talk about a filly called Always a Runner, who could be double-digit odds. Nobody's talking about her. Well, I'm going to talk about her. Let's talk about Always a Runner and her chances in the Kentucky Oaks. Of course, I'm a very visual handicapper, so let's watch the Gazelle Stakes. Always a Runner was only making her second career start in this race, and you see her on the rail moving up. She's going to switch to the outside, and Pashmina is on the lead. Pashmina had an easy lead, 113 for 6 furlongs, 48 and change for the half mile, and she had every right to win this race because she conserved all the energy. And you see Pashmina trying to separate from the field, but Always a Runner won't let her go. And I know the whip is out on Always a Runner, but that's fine. Again, Pashmina had everything her own way, and so Always a Runner was always going to require some energy to mow her down. Look at the separation to the third place filly, and Always a Runner gets the job done. That's a big separation back to the group in third, fourth, and fifth, and I thought it was a great effort. Now, some might say Pashmina isn't that good. That's an argument you can make, but I want to defend her record. She was fourth in the Silver Bullet Day, and remember, that was the race where Taken by the Wind had an easy lead, so no filly was going to beat her. And in the Sunland Park Oaks, Pashmina was third, and I would argue she ran a good race that day. And the winner, Bottle of Rouge, she has some ability, so I would argue that Pashmina was facing good fillies, and there might have been some interference in the stretch. I think Pashmina could have gotten second in that race without the interference. We'll never know. And then, of course, I'm saying that Pashmina's best race came in the Gazelle Stakes, and even on Ecobase, using their numbers, she got her highest number in that race, a 92, and so I think Pashmina might be underrated. If you can make the argument that Pashmina is a good filly, then you have to give some credit to Always a Runner for mowing her down in the Gazelle Stakes. Now, I want to look at the buyer figures for the top contenders in the Kentucky Oaks. Zadie, she had an 83 in her last start, 82 in the Suncoast. Prom Queen, she had a 90 in the Gulfstream Park Oaks. Percy's Bar, she had an 87 in the Ashland Stakes when she beat Zany. Counting Stars, she had a 92 in the Fantasy Stakes. And Always a Runner, she had an 89 buyer when she beat Pashmina in the Gazelle Stakes. Now, what is the difference here? A few points. Always a Runner is 3 points behind Counting Stars. She has a buyer that's higher than anything Percy's Bar ran. And she's 1 point behind Prom Queen? That's nothing. And she has a buyer that's higher than anything that Zany ran this year. And some people say that Zany will be the favorite in the Kentucky Oaks. And some people are also saying Meaning might be the favorite. Now, what is Meaning's top buyer this year? Well, over here, I don't have the PPs for Meaning, but it says here that Meaning's top buyer is at 85. Do you believe that? I don't know. It's hard to compare the Southern California group to the rest of the country because they stay in their own bubble. But it says here, Meaning's top buyer is an 85. So again, Always a Runner has a buyer that's 4 points higher than Meaning, who could be the favorite in the Kentucky Oaks as well. I mean, I'm not saying that Always a Runner has the best figure, but I'm saying that Always a Runner has a figure on the buyer scale that's not that any different than the fillies we just talked about. She's right up there with the top fillies. So Always a Runner is my sleeper pick for the Kentucky Oaks, my long shot pick, whatever you want to call it. I'm going to use her. I'm just not sure if I'm going to single her or use other fillies with her. I need to think about that more. But Always a Runner, I consider her a live long shot in this race. Now let's talk about Full Effort in the Kentucky Derby. One reason I'm intrigued by Full Effort in the Kentucky Derby is that he's a synthetic horse, and I know the public shies away from synthetic horses in the Kentucky Derby, so the value will be there. And another reason I like him is that I think you'll love the distance. And that's just from a visual standpoint. I think when you watch him visually, you get the feeling that he wants to go longer than 9 furlongs. And of course, we have the clip of the Jeff Ruby Stakes up here, and Full Effort is not hard to spot. He's a great horse. He's on the outside. Stark contrast, the turf horse. he's tiring in second. Well, I don't know if he's tiring, but full effort, he's going by him easily, and full effort is going to draw clear of Stark Contrast, who is all alone in second, and then it's a big gap to the third place horse. Full effort ran a great race in the Jeff Ruby Stakes. Let's look at full effort's Equibase page for a little bit. He actually broke his maiden on turf at Keeneland, before finishing second in the Leonada Stakes, second in the John Battaglia Memorial, and those races were at shorter distances. Once he raced at 9 furlongs in the Jeff Ruby Stakes, then he broke out with his victory over a good runner in Stark Contrast. Who is Stark Contrast? Well, he was the runner-up in the Breeders' Cup Juvenile Turf, and he's won a couple of stakes races, the Zuma Beach at Santa Anita and the Eddie Logan Stakes this year. So this horse is a very good turf horse. Is he as good on synthetic as on turf? I'm not sure, but he ran a decent race in the Jeff Ruby Stakes. He just couldn't handle full effort. And like I said, I get the feeling when I watch full effort that he wants to go 10 furlongs. So it's a matter of him handling the surface. I don't know if he can handle dirt, but can he handle 10 furlongs? Sure, if he likes the surface. Let's take a look at full effort's pedigree. Full effort, sired by Liam's Map, and initially I thought Liam's Map was a dirt sire, but I was looking at his top runners on Equibase the other day, and a number of them are turf and synthetic winners. That gave me some pause. But you see down below, Awesome Again is a dam sire of full effort, and Call Me the Squeeze, the dam, was also the dam of Power Squeeze, who you might remember from a year or two ago. Power Squeeze won over $1 million, and she was actually my Kentucky Oaks pick. I don't remember what year it was, but it wasn't that long ago. And she won the Alabama Stakes. So that supports the idea that full effort wants to go longer. But does that mean that full effort can handle dirt just because Power Squeeze handles dirt? Not necessarily, because the sire is different. Union Rags is the sire of Power Squeeze, and Liam's Map, as I said, is the sire of full effort. So it's a guess. I don't know for sure if full effort could handle dirt. But I do believe he wants to go longer from a visual standpoint and a pedigree standpoint, since he's a half brother to Power Squeeze. And if he could handle the surface, then he's going to get pace in front of him. And if he could handle the surface and gets the pace in front of him, I think he'll be there in the mix in the stretch run. Could he win? I'm still debating on whether to put him in my Oaks Derby double. But I think he could finish second or third or fourth, assuming there's plenty of pace, and there usually is in the Kentucky Derby. And if he gets a good trip, of course. I don't know for sure if full effort can handle the surface, but he's a long shot in this race, and the public tends to shy away from synthetic horses, so I think he will be a long shot at post time. I'm not sure exactly what his odds will be, but he's going to be double-digit odds, maybe 20 to 1, 30 to 1. We'll see. Full effort, live long shot in a Kentucky Derby. If not for the win spot, then maybe an underneath spot in your trifecta or superfecta. I'm not even going to look at full effort speed figures, because I don't think you can look at synthetic speed figures or turf speed figures and say, well, he ran a 90 on that, so he's definitely going to run a 90 on dirt. I don't think it works that way. But again, if he handles the surface, I think full effort will be right there in the stretch run. Thanks for watching my video on one long shot in the Kentucky Oaks and one long shot in the Kentucky Derby. Always a runner, my live long shot for the Kentucky Oaks, and as you can see here, full effort, my live long shot for the Kentucky Derby, and I'll be back with final analysis for the Kentucky Oaks and Kentucky Derby next week.